It was a dark and stormy night. Seriously, it was. With light from a kerosene lamp, he was borne on a bed that also held pots put out to catch water for a leaky roof. Electricity didn't come to Bob's house until he was 8 years old. When he and his sister wanted to hear music, other than that played by their musical parents, they had to borrow the battery out of the family car. With an antenna strung out the window to a cottonwood tree, they were able to pick up WSM in Nashville and the Louisiana Hayride. A little too much Hank Williams and Friends and their angry dad would have the chore of making a trip to town to get the battery charged. Their dad could entertain the family with his guitar and fiddle, but he had a volatile temper and an affinity for drinking. Their mother finally divorced him when Bob was 7 years old. Wanting a guitar of his own, while he was about 15, he begged his mother for one for Christmas. What he got was a plastic ukulele that sounded so bad he smashed it against a tree in frustration. His older sister got an inexpensive guitar later that year and taught him 3 chords. He practiced until he could play well enough to sing songs for anyone he could get to listen, even walking down the road to the neighbor lady's house to play for her. Leaving high school in his junior year, Bob joined the Navy in 1958, where a shipmate turned him on to a guitar book. He thought he had died and gone to heaven the first time he heard an E chord. By the time he finished his hitch in the Navy, he was playing for parties and in a few bars for tips. Re-upping 6 months later, he hooked up with others to form shipboard bands. He learned power chords to play some of the newer types of music, and his ship's captain started referring to him and his friends as the Beatty Beatles. The ship was the USS Beatty. Besides playing on the signal bridge, when their ship was alongside other ships taking on supplies or fuel, they played concerts for about 1,200 of the Ethiopian Navy at an embassy party for the mayor of Karachi, Pakistan, and in Barcelona, Spain, for the Spanish and American Club. When stationed in Port Magoo Naval Air Station, did I say that right? In 1969, he met a fellow sailor who taught him the basics of the fiddle. In return, he backed his friend up on guitar for a few fiddle concerts. When his friend won second place in one contest, they were invited to go to LA to play and tape for a radio show. Expecting to play 1 or 2 songs, they taped a 45-minute set. The 2 of them were also featured in local newspapers for their work entertaining in rest homes. About this time, he got another book, this time for Earl Scruggs-style banjo. He could be a one-man bluegrass band. Bob's next posting found him in Long Beach, California, where he did some nightclub work on his free Friday and Saturday nights. He loved playing for those crowds, and they loved him back. As he used to say, what a great bunch of drunks they were. A tour of duty aboard ship in Vietnam gave him time to do a little teaching, where he found it necessary to learn some music theory. He diagrammed chords for 3 months and found out a lot more than he originally set out to learn. Most of his information came from an unexpected source, a copy of the original Encyclopedia Britannica, which had a large section dedicated to music theory. His Navy career gave him several opportunities to pursue his diverse musical instruments, interests with the guitar, fiddle, and banjo. He had plans to retire, but he'd done some time working with the Naval Alcohol Counseling Center here in San Diego and Japan. And the Navy wanted his expertise at the Long Beach Naval Hospital, so he extended once again. And recently, Bob earned his medallion for 40 years sober. He was very proud of that. In Long Beach, he used to spend time jamming with some of his patients. He worked on the top floor and came to be known as Fiddler on the Roof. And if you know his email address, that's where it came from. Bob retired from the Navy in 1984 and went back to school to get an art degree so he could become an art therapist. But in 1987, he was in a terrible motorcycle accident. After spending 3 years in physical therapy, he was finally released to go back to work, only to get broadsided by a car in 1990. This sent him into a terrible depression. He was even too sore to play the guitar. I'd be depressed too. He married his current wife Sharon in 1993, a real sweetheart. She helped him find Jesus, and with her help, he struggled his way out of his depression. In about 1995 or 1996, he discovered the old-time fiddlers of Southern California, and that rekindled his interest in music again. He joined the San Diego Bluegrass and the Southwest Bluegrass Societies, and about this time started to hear about jam sessions around town, and eventually heard about our Wood Lips open mic. The rest, as he said, is history. In addition to our open mic, Bob played at the bluegrass meetings at Fuddruckers Restaurant in Chula Vista. He and Sharon also got pickers and singers together to play at a convalescent hospital in La Mesa, entertaining and bringing the Word of God to patients. Looking back, his plans for 2006 included learning new songs, taking a stab at the pedal steel guitar, and a desire to concentrate on teaching and encouraging young and old alike to enjoy playing music. Besides his discovery of Jesus, he credits his music with playing a major factor in beating his depression. I can sincerely say that Bob and Sharon Cool were a wonderful addition to our open mics. Sharon has a great voice, and she and Bob made great harmony together in more ways than one. He was a great guy, and he'll be missed. Thank you.